The city that oil built. It's a slogan that described Seagraves in the 1930s when oil started to boom. Over the next decade, the population grew from about 500 to more than 3,000.
And while it was once known for its oil, Seagraves has a few other bragging rights as well. KCBD News Channel 11's Shaley Sanders joins us now with more on the town's interesting history. Shaley?
Karen and Abner, the people here in this town have done an incredible job of restoring and preserving several of the artifacts here. We had a chance to talk to a few families, some who decided to stay in this town and raise a family, others who left and then returned because they want to invest in the town they love so much. There are a lot of stories here in Seagraves.
That made great news there for a while.
Some of those can be told through the pieces of history on display.
It's Buford Cooksey, picture behind the Purple Heart.
Other stories living in the hearts of longtime residents who can remember when these boarded up windows once looked upon bustling streets.
Seagraves was a thriving spot, and I can remember in my childhood, stores staying open until 7 o'clock on Saturday, and you couldn't get up and down the street.
Dan Calfee is the perfect fit for his position as president of the Seagraves Loop Museum and Art Center, where some of his own family's belongings call home. Having grown up in Seagraves, he's lived through some of the town's history himself and learned the rest through stories and memorabilia passed down by his mother.
She's been here since Seagraves was. She could remember riding on a horse over and watching them lay the track. So she got to see it from the beginning.
The Spearman Land Company of the Santa Fe Railroad promoted Seagraves in 1916.
The railroad's here, and the oil boom was just getting started in Yoakum County and some in Gaines County. And all of the materials that were needed to develop the oil patch came through Seagraves on the rail.
Activity that helped the city recover after a disaster.
Seagraves had a fire in 1928 that burned the town except for this building and the hotel and maybe one or two others.
Deborah Ford manages the hotel that survived that fire, a building that became a Texas historical landmark in 1991.
The story they tell when the fire was going on, the piano that was in here, I don't remember, it was very heavy, but they got the piano out and saved it, thinking that the building might get lost. But that's why we got this piano, was to restore that, heritage and that story.
Calfee says in the 1970s, things began to shut down. Plants closed and families moved out. But he says the town's story isn't over.
The last 3-4 years, the railroad has really promoted Seagraves as a hot spot.
It was this railroad that put Seagraves on the map nearly 100 years ago. And it could be these tracks that bring new life to the city once again. Now, while this town continues to look to the future, you can check out what they have preserved from the past. It's located at the Seagraves Loop Museum and Art Center in the heart of this town. Karen?